Nightmare. These names usually have very funny names. Print Nightmare. So what was it? Someone looked at a system and said, how can I find an exploit? How can I hack a system, get remote access? And they started going through, who knows when you open your system and you go to my computer and you go to C drive, right? They started looking at each of the programs in C drive and saying, were these programs built well? So before I continue, let me tell you. So the reason we have a lot of security issues today is that when systems were built, when softwares were built in the early days, they were not built with security in mind. They were built with solving problems or convenience or making the world a better place. So they were built with convenience in mind. For instance, when your washing machine was built, it was just built for, oh, someone should just come and click some buttons and it should wash my clothes and that's all, right? And they sold it, you know. So that was the mindset of innovators. But now what people are seeing is that if you don't think about security, then you have problems along the way. That's why you have so much vulnerabilities. In the early days, 80s, 70s, we had a lot of softwares, innovation. But during the 90s, people started thinking, oh, okay, let me try to exploit this. Let me write a malware. The same way I can write code to do something innovative. Let me write code to break something. Right, and they start writing all those codes, and then you had the boom of malware, right? So all I'm just saying is that when you're building your software, think about security. Think about how can someone mess around my solution and make a mess of it, right? So I was explaining pre-nightmare. So somebody went into a system and said, let me look at all the programs and see if I can find any vulnerability. And guess where they found vulnerability? In the program that helps you print. I'm sure nobody pays attention to a printer. So when you have a PDF, you just go Ctrl-P, right? And it goes to your printer and it prints, right? So what the person found is, before it goes to your printer, there is a temporal buffer where the information is kept, right? There's a process that keeps that information, and they were able to find the vulnerability in that process. That was a serious issue. It had to cause, like most organizations had to, their incident response team had to jump and start patching because they were able to get remote access, into people's system because they were able to find vulnerabilities in something as small as the program that handles your printing. So that's how dangerous cyber attacks can be. And so that's what I'm saying, a real understanding of how things work. So if you're the kind of person that loves to understand how things work, like complex systems, they tickle your fancy. Cybersecurity is a good career for you, especially ethical hacking. And so information overload is a thing. So like I said, I'm coming to prepare you for the industry. To be a cybersecurity analyst, you have to be comfortable with a lot of information. You have to be comfortable being confronted with a lot of information. So you have a lot of information. You have to be able to find the needle in the haystack. And so, in protecting an organization or protecting the world or anything, collaboration is key. Like I just showed you a lot of the aspects of cybersecurity. And so, if you do not collaborate with the other cybersecurity analyst that is devoted to a particular part of security, you would have a weak chain. So there's something we say, we are only as strong as our weakest link. It's also applicable in cybersecurity. So, if you want to be an ethical hacker, a cybersecurity analyst, you have to think collaboration. Right, so we can't end this presentation without telling you emerging opportunities. And by emerging, I mean new careers in cybersecurity, new careers that have a lot of job demands, right, and that you could leverage, and you would get good jobs, and you have a very good career. Example is using AI to work faster and better. Well, this applies to all the current cybersecurity careers. I'm sure it applies to every other career, to software. A lot of you said you use ChatGPT. What do you use it for? Yeah, I'm sure all of you write your codes from scratch. You guys are amazing. Yeah. So the second is building cybersecurity solutions. So most of the cybersecurity solutions we have in the country and the continent were built by other countries. Were built by other countries, built by Israel. I'm sure you guys have heard about Israel. They are very good at cybersecurity. They build amazing, amazing solutions. Built by the US, built by Russia. And so there are opportunities building cybersecurity solutions. So if you're able to build solutions, you stand the chance of making a lot of money. Because there are also regulations that say that before you go to purchase a security solution outside, you should check within the country to see if there is something that matches that level of competency. Meaning, if you have solutions in Nigeria that are effective, use them rather than going abroad to use. So you can put your innovative software development mind to building cybersecurity solutions. That's very lucrative. We have bug bounty programs. These are people that go about looking for vulnerabilities. Microsoft has its bug bounty program. You look for vulnerabilities, and they pay you for that. And we have cloud security. Everyone is moving to the cloud. Nobody puts servers in their premises and have a server administrator fix it, or maintain it. And so cloud security is also an emerging opportunity. And then you have DevSecOps. You could also look into that too. So if you are interested in cybersecurity, becoming an ethical hacker, a SOC analyst, a blue teamer, or a purple teamer, these are good resources for you to look at. Tryhackme.com is a very good resource. It will teach you from zero to hero. So you can take you from scratch, teaching you the fundamentals of cybersecurity. app.hackthebox.com, that's for ethical hackers. We have Pen Testers Academy, also for ethical hackers. We have Let's Defend, those are for blue teamers. You want to learn how to defend organizations and defend yourself. Security Blue Team, also very important. YouTube and Google. I'm sure every IT guy knows that Google is very important. I'm sure now ChatGPT is sitting almost at the same level with Google. So yeah, we do a lot of research. All right, so with that, you would have a very amazing cybersecurity career. So thank you, everyone. All right, so before I go, if you have any questions I want to answer. All right. I think someone should get a microphone to him. Please get him a microphone so he can ask his question.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning.
So now my question is about mostly AI security. So in so many parts of software engineering, right, security is more like an afterthought, most especially in AI, where we just work on building our models and deploying models and making models available. We don't really focus more on the security aspect. Mm-hmm. And the vulnerabilities in AI are more of, because AI is this part of tech that you have to learn from data, right?
Yeah.
So security vulnerabilities are more of injecting into your data. So data you are learning from, we impute wrong values into your data. So how do you protect in that kind of situation?
Okay. So when you want to protect anything, you have to, I would say, decouple the system. So you just mentioned that you have data warehouses, right? That the AI feeds from. Yeah, so protect the architecture that holds the data. Protect the architecture that holds the data, and then you won't have people being able to do any malicious modification of your data. And also AI, well, personally, I think another risk that AI runs is logical security errors, because with a couple of statements that can be so confusing to your AI, we can make the AI do what it's not supposed to do. So you should also look at that too. So but if you have a very good security person on your team, sure, you guys will look at that and solve that. So thank you. Any other question?
Good morning. Right, so my question is, if perhaps I want to become a cybersecurity expert, right, am I expected to understand as many programming language syntaxes as possible? Because, for example, I'm dealing with ransomware that they built with C or JavaScript, so am I supposed to understand as many, or how do you guys, work with it?
All right. So I'll tell you how it's done practically. So you can't say you want to learn all the programming languages because you want to do cybersecurity. You're going to waste a lot of time. So what you do is, they would advise you, or I would advise you, that you learn one programming language so you understand programming and its syntax. And when you're faced with, so you have to practice a lot before you get to that day, because the situation you're talking about is, say you're a defender, right? You're a blue teamer, and then you get around somewhere, you want to understand what it is doing and where it has been. in your organization. So I would say practice before that time. So practice with malware built in C and try to read. Okay, so this is how we do it. You just open the code, and then with each line, it's even better now, you have AI. Ask the AI, what does this line mean? And the AI will tell you. And so, but it will take time because you have to go through each line. You can go through each block, each function, try to understand exactly what it does, write a kind of flow chart, understanding what it does, yeah. So that's one way. There's also another way, automated way. There's something we call process graph. So there are solutions that you carry a malware. Okay, I would say it's a sandbox. The sandbox also has process graph capability. What it just means is carry a malware, put on a system that is isolated. And a system has that process graph. And so what you do is it will activate the malware, and everything the malware does, the system will take a record of it. And then to show you in terms of a graph. So to tell you, you see this file you downloaded, I think it was a movie. The movie played, yes, but the movie went to your downloads and copied everything from your downloads and sent to someone in North Korea. Did you get? Yes, so that's it. I think I'll just take the last question because my time is up. All right. Thank you.
Good afternoon, sir.
Who's asking? Okay.
So, you spoke about many vulnerabilities and the like. You spoke about Eternal Blue. I think also know about reverse TCP and the likes. And I just have one question. My question goes thus: what's the role of networking in cybersecurity? Networking and cybersecurity are two very vast and different fields of study, yet they are still very interconnected. So what is the role of cybersecurity? Like, would you advise someone to first learn networking before they start cybersecurity, or just go into it straight?
Okay, that's a very important question. Thank you. So I'll just give you two scenarios. So even within my team, we have, for instance, my experience, how I got into cybersecurity was, I studied electrical electronics engineering, by the way. Yeah, and so I first went into networking. I was first a network support engineer. It was while doing networking, I said, oh, okay, I'm interested in this field, cybersecurity, and then I started reading up on cybersecurity practice, and I'm here. So that's my experience. I have someone else in my team that didn't go through that particular experience, but they went through a bit of software, but not networking. So I would advise you, learn networking. You don't need to learn networking in depth, but understand the TCP/IP layer, understand how the internet works, right? And then, like I said, we do a lot of research. So if you just understand the basics, if you come up with a problem, you can easily just do research and say, oh, okay, what is this, what is that? And then you solve the problem. So I would advise you, learn networking first. It will help you. If you don't learn your networking, at some point, it will slow you down a bit until you learn it, because you get to some problems that you might not be able to solve without networking. Assuming you see a vulnerability that is moving around your network and moving through different IP addresses, but you do not understand what each IP address is, if each IP address stands for, which subnet they are in, which VLAN they are in, then you might not be able to handle the situation, in the best way possible. So that's it. So at this point, we've come to the end of this presentation. Thank you so much. You can ask me the question after. I'll be around. All right. Thank you so much. All right, so I think your leaders will maybe share my LinkedIn profile or that of my colleagues so that you can ask your questions. So as you go about your journey, you can just hit me up, give me a DM, I will respond. So thank you so much for your time.
Another round of applause, please. Yeah.
That was such a very insightful speech.
Learned a lot.
From Mr. Victor Ifeanyichukwu. Thank you so much, sir. We've learned a lot about cybersecurity, malware, and a lot of other amazing things. Thank you so much. Next up, we are going to be having another speaker, and he is coming all the way from FINCRA. He's a software quality assurance engineer, and his name is
Victor Ilo. I hope I pronounced that right.
day, everybody. Can you hear me? My name is Victor. I'm a software quality assurance engineer. I lead a lot of QAs, or I would say some QAs. And I'm basically here to talk about my journey as a QA engineer, and also a few things you need to know about quality assurance. I'm sure a lot of, oh, I don't have a slide, by the way. All right. Can you hear me at the back? Okay. I don't have a slide, by the way, so I'm just going to present at the top of my head. I want to talk about my journey as a quality assurance engineer and everything you need to know about quality assurance. So I think I started off in 200 level. We did a course back then in school. And, you know, it was just about programming. I learned some few things, and, you know, the quest to learn more was just there, inherent in me. And so, final year, you know, where everything is just coming together. Oh, what am I going to do after school, this, that, and all of that. And so, my supervisor then, he then referred me to a company in Lagos. And so I left my school back then in Nsukka. I journeyed down to Lagos, and I started off as a software engineer. I was writing Java at the time. And so while I came into the company, they said, oh no, you're not going to do Java for now. You're just going to do front end, more like React, HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and the likes. And I was confused. Coming from, you know, just writing Java, and then it's now about writing JavaScript, HTML, and you know how confusing that thing can be. And so I did it for a while. There was plenty struggle, by the way. And after a few while, I went back to my CTO then, and I was like, this thing is not working. Let me go back to my Java. And they were like, no. You can do it. But I've told myself already that this thing cannot work. And so I saw QA engineers. By the way, before joining the company, I've not heard about, you know, quality assurance or anything like that. So I saw QA engineers, and I'm like, I could do this. I know how to code as well. And so I started. And that was how I journeyed into quality assurance. And so when I started, there was this friend of mine who would always tell me, you know how to code Java, you could do backend, just leave this quality assurance thing. They don't make money, leave them. And so I spoke to myself, and somehow I got to pray, God, if this is what you want me to do, please talk to me. And so I went into the office that particular day, and my quality assurance lead was just from nowhere trying to talk us into building a career in QA. And so I had my conviction at that point that I was going to do this. You know, I tried to switch after that time because there's this guy that would always tell me, you need to switch. And so, surmounting that pressure, I got a gig, you know, different gigs that started coming in, and before you know what happened, I was settled as a QA. So now, I don't know how many of you, must have heard about quality assurance, but there's a career in quality assurance or testing, which I believe most of you here must not have heard about. So what is quality assurance? Quality assurance itself is a process. The process of organizing, testing to ensure that a quality is of good quality. Let me liken quality assurance to, say, a baking company that they bake cookies, for instance. And so cookies is packaged and sent out to the end user or to the consumers. They go through a process. And so quality assurance, I'd say it's, tasting that cookie, tasting the cookies to be sure that the taste is top notch. The process, the mixing of the whole flour and everything that is used in making that cookie is done perfectly well. So I'd say quality assurance or quality QA engineers are basically policemen in the software development life cycle, because they stand to say, they are like the final say, right, as per this product or this feature is fit for deployment, right? So if a developer finishes, he does all his thing, he sends the work down to the QA. QA does his job. He just basically checks the code, checks the feature that is being developed to be sure that the software requirements document is meeting what has been built. Now, until these two things are together, or I'd say are working together, the feature or the product you're building is not yet done. So in quality assurance, we have the manual testing and also the quality and the automation testing. Automation testing is simply using tools like Selenium. I don't know if anybody here have heard of Selenium. Using tools like Selenium, Cypress, JMeter as well. Use JMeter for your performance testing. Checking the product against certain or specific threshold, to know if the product is going to break or not. So the automation part of QA is actually very interesting because you get to code. I'm sure if you've heard of QA before now, you'd know that you get to code in the automation part of QA. Now, to be successful as a QA engineer, you need the skill of both a manual tester and also an automation engineer. Now, how do you combine these two things? How do you combine these two things to ensure that quality is top-notch? Because as a policeman, it should not be heard that something went live or something was deployed to production and somehow you missed it. Because the first point of contact when there's an issue on production is the QA engineer. So QA is very vital as long as the software development lifecycle, as long as software engineering is concerned, right? So now, how do you combine both manual testing and automation testing? So I'd say it largely depends on, where you're working, right? It largely depends on where you're working. A lot of people or a lot of companies, for instance, they accept the working of both of them, right? They accept the working of both of them because automation is expensive, right? Because you have to get the skill set of someone who knows how to code, who knows how to navigate their way around the performance testing using specific tools, right? Unlike manual testing where I won't say anybody can do manual testing, because even manual testing itself is a skill, right? It takes the eye of looking at softwares, features, or whatever is being built with the eyes of a QA. There's the normal eyes and there's the eyes of a QA, where you pay rapt attention, all right? Close attention to details regarding the software. Now, what are the advantages? What are the advantages and disadvantages of this automation, for instance? One of the disadvantages of using or doing automation tests is that I'd say you cannot use it to do like UI checks, for instance. You want to check where this button is, where this field is. You cannot use automation test to achieve that, right? And also, disadvantages of manual testing, it's not repetitive. Doing it repetitively, it's difficult, sometimes stressful. It stresses you out, and in order to bypass that hurdle, you use automation testing as an escape route, right? So these are the disadvantages of, at least one of them, just one of each, for both manual and automation testing. So yeah, for time's sake, I'm just going to be a little faster, and I also try to summarize as well. Yeah. So now, in testing, there are different types of testing. We have the functional testing, security testing, black box testing, white box testing, and a whole lot of them actually. There are quite a number of them. Just this few that I've mentioned now would cover for the testing I want to speak about now. So for functional testing, it's simply checking the software, like I said before, in respect to the software requirement document. Just checking it end to end to be sure that everything is fine. For unit testing, it involves writing modules of code to actually do a form of test for specific modules, right? When we talk about black box testing, for black box testing, you don't really need to know the in-depth of how the code works, right? You just do like test here and there to, like a monkey testing, basically. You just do your test here and there to be sure that your software is working as expected. While for white box testing, you need to know like the internal workings of the code in order to test it appropriately. Yeah, so the tools that we use in QA, or one of the tools that we use in QA, it's Excel, right? We use Excel for our test script writing. Test script writing is simply detailing the steps in which you took in order to achieve a result, right? Detailing the steps, you know, what data you are feeding into the system, the expected result, the actual result, and then the test result, you know, if it is failed or passed, yeah? Use this test script, use this Excel to document this process so that anybody that wants to look at what you have done or the process in which you took to achieve this testing can just go to the Excel sheet and, you know, is able to recreate this issue or recreate the test results that you've actually gotten. So yeah, I think they are quite, the last thing I'll be speaking on is the QA role in Agile. Agile methodology is simply, how do I say it? A continuous process, right? Is a continuous process in which as development is ongoing, testing is ongoing as well. More like they are happening simultaneously. You know, unlike other models that we have, where until the developer finishes everything he's building before he sends the product to the QA for QA to conduct their test. But for agile testing, as the developer is pushing to staging, staging being an environment which will test, as the developer is pushing to staging, as the developer is pushing to staging, the QA is conducting their test almost immediately. So that way, we have faster products that are shipped to production, you know, and also quicker feedback to the developers, just in case there are issues that is being encountered by the QA. I think that's all for my talk. That's all for my talk. I don't know if anybody has any question. Yeah, go ahead.
All right, so good morning. I would like to ask, are there any differences between quality assurance and cybersecurity? Because they kind of sound similar in a way.
Okay. I'd say for Victor, I don't know. I'd say, but for QA, I'd say what we are trying to do, why I say we are policemen is because before it gets out, to the end users, we spend time to verify that software requirements document, what the client wants from this software. We check that it is actually what has been developed, right? I would say cybersecurity, it's, please correct me if I'm wrong, by the way. So I'll say cybersecurity is checking for vulnerabilities, basically, right? Vulnerabilities that the QA cannot see. Do you understand? Vulnerabilities, yeah, like you said, we work together basically, because when we check, when they do these vulnerability checks, the developers sometimes fixes the issue, right? And then we test again to be sure that it's fine. Yeah.
All right, so my own question is, what is the average salary of a quality assurance? So a quality assurance engineer. And do you think that role is really, really available in Nigeria?
Yes. Okay, if the role is available in Nigeria, to be very honest, is very available. So a lot of people are, they move towards the what's it called? I'd say the developer area, you want to do UI, UX, but forgetting that there's QA. So we still have a lot of space in the QA field. Just like there's a lot also as, as a developer, as a React developer and all of that. Yeah, average salary. Okay, come on, help me, please. Average salary of a quality assurance. Well, in some cases, or I don't know. Okay, I'd say depends on where you're working actually. If you're working for Nigerian firms, be rest assured that it is not the same thing that a foreign gig that is coming is going to pay you. But on an average, globally, it's around, let's say, 4K to 5K USD in a month. Yeah. Is there any other question before I sign up?
Okay, I wanted to ask, how do you stay up to date in this your field of work?
Yeah, so there are evolving technologies even in the QA space. Before now, the most trending one was using Selenium, as your core automation tool. But right now we have Cypress, tools like Cypress, that, before you do all those configuration thingy, right? Before you do all those configuration thingy, it's tedious using Selenium. But using Cypress, it's quite easy. So you just have to attend seminars, right? To keep up, you just have to attend seminars, keep your ears down, trying to, understand or know what the trending technology is. For instance, now it's more channeled towards AI. Before it was Web3, right? Web3 testing and all of that. But right now we have AI being the talk of the day, right? So there are also like tools that that can help in testing these things basically. Okay, one last question. Okay.
Okay, so you mentioned a lot of tools
Yeah.
earlier, but you haven't really spoken a lot about like programming or coding in QA. Does that mean that it's more of a minimum programming field, or how long do you spend programming, or does the tools do most of that work that you would have to do programming, or what?
You have to actually use a lot of programming, but not the core programming that a developer will be using. Even in QA we do the CI/CD, more like CI/CD thingy, where you deploy your code to production to run tests at certain time, right? Whenever there's a push, or whenever there's a push to, let's say, staging, the code that you've written would run and do those checks for you and give you a test result. So there's a lot of coding activities happening in, let's say, in the QA space, right? I may not have spoken a lot about it, but yeah, you use it a lot. Use Java, use JavaScript, and use Python as well in coding in Selenium and Cypress. Yeah, I think that's it.
Hello, good morning. So concerning the QA field, I noticed that a lot of things seem similar in a little bit like with backend development. For example, in Java now, when we write code and we want to test it or deploy it, we have to JUnit, to test it, to do unit testing and all.
Yeah.
So the QA originate from backend development, then they just simply character the field out. Because some of these terms you're using, we use it a lot in backend development.
Yeah.
You said something there's a tool to mock mock the dependencies.
Yeah.
You can mock have a test environment.
To mock yourself.
Exactly. So the queue originates from backend.
No.
Okay. It's a totally entirely
It's
different field.
totally different thing altogether.
Okay, all right.
Right? Even though they work synonymously. Right? Even though they work hand in hand, right? Because if you as a backend developer, you do your unit test,
Yes.
right? If you do your unit test and you push your code to the QA to do his test, and he carries his postman, for instance, to test your stuff, yeah? You've saved a lot of back and forth, because your unit test is meant to capture every, every loophole, right? While I am testing, I am not just testing that your work is fine. I am trying to ensure. In fact, I'm not happy that it's passing, to be very honest, right? I'm not happy that it's passing. I just want it to fail. I'm looking for a way to break it, basically. So, yeah.
Thank you.
All right. I think that's all. Thank you.
Another round of applause to him. Thank you. That was a very informative session on QA.
We learned a lot.
I enjoyed your story.
I really did. On how quality assurance helps you to completely manage the product and to avoid failure of the product.
Okay.
So next up, we are going to be having another speaker.
She is a lead DevOps engineer at Profiles. He is a lead DevOps engineer at Profiles, and his name is Chinweuke Oko. Can we give a round of applause to him?
He'll be joining us online.
Okay. You guys should sit tight. After this, we have the giveaway, so just stay with us.
Hello, my friend.
Can you hear us? Hello? Session will be, can you hear us? Please respond.
I can hear you. You said I can go ahead.
Yes, you can go ahead, sir.
Okay, that's fine. Let me know when you can see my screen. Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay, thank you very much. Hi everyone, if you can hear me. Am I very audible? Can everyone
Yes,
hear
you
me?
are.
Loud and clear.
Okay, thank you very much. Hi everyone, I am Chunwoke Cyprian. I am a DevOps engineer here in Propius. I currently lead the DevOps team. Yes, so today I'm going to be discussing on a very simple topic, becoming a DevOps engineer. I mean, it's a very simple slides. Just want to show you that you can do it. Yeah, I just want to show you that it's not so hard in DevOps, but very interesting actually. Yeah, but you must put in the work. I feel like I'm talking to myself. Am I?
You're not.
Okay, thank you very much. So I'm going to be taking you on a very simple topic, becoming a DevOps engineer. Yeah, DevOps is not too bogus a word, right? It's simply an aspect of software development, but a very interesting aspect of software development. Yeah, I'm actually showing the slides. If you can't see it again, please let me know in the via chat. Anyway, all right. So we are going to be going through a very simple steps. We're going to the introduction. We talk about why DevOps, becoming a DevOps, the skills you require, and how do you start? And then you can ask me your questions. Okay. All right. So DevOps is a very interesting aspect of software development. Why do I say this? It's actually interesting because you can it's not so stressful as every other aspect. Yeah. But you must do your due diligence. If you don't do your due diligence in DevOps, you will spend your whole day beating out fire, right? Just spend the whole day, okay, there is problem here, you're sorting this, you're bringing up this server, the other server is down, you're talking to the other server, the state server is down, okay, the load balancer is no longer working, and all of that. You spend your whole day and you'll be exhausted. But if you have done your due diligence perfectly well, trust me, DevOps is a very interesting something you want to join, right? So in a nutshell, it simply implies how do we take code from version control and make it available to end users? What do I mean? Now, there are so many aspects in software development. Let's take, for instance, the development team or the developers. Once they have written their code, they will simply push their code to a version control, maybe GitHub, Bitbucket, GitLab, or anything. The most important thing is that they have finished coding and they have moved it to a version control. Now, the job of a DevOps engineer starts at that point where it has been moved to a version control. So the DevOps engineer will pick up the code, build the code, package it, save it in an image container, we call it containers, yeah, or image storage location anywhere, and then take the code already stored and deploy it in a server and make it available for users. That's a very simple definition of what DevOps do. Simply taking the code already developed by the development team or developers and making it available to the end user. I'm going to explain it with a very simple slide here, right? Can you see this slide? Can you guys see all of this? Can you hear me? And you can see my slide, yeah? We can hear you. Can you see the slides? Okay. All right, thank you. All right, thank you very much. All right. So I'm going to use this very basic CI/CD process to explain exactly what DevOps is and what DevOps do in a nutshell. Okay. So if you look at this screen, yeah, this is a development team. This is just a depiction of development team. And they have finished coding and they have pushed this code to a version control. I'm using GitHub, for instance, this case. Yeah, don't worry about this my terminology. If you eventually want to go into DevOps engineering, these are just very basic terms. They are very straightforward, right? So version control is simply where we store our code. Yeah. If I have written one, I'm going to store it in a version control. Some of us may know GitHub, Bitbucket, GitLab, and a number of variations. Yeah. But GitHub is most popular for now. Let's stick to it. So it's simply version control where we push our codes once we are done. Using a CI tool, we call it the continuous integration process. Remember, the raw code written cannot be deployed like that and made available to end users. No, there have to be a reformation of this code. Yeah, we have to pick the code, build it using a CI tool. There are so many variations of CI tools you can think of. Yeah, so DevOps is going to pick this code using a CI tool, build it, and test it. Basically, you're testing for vulnerability, checking for bugs, code smell. The code is going to be packaged and uploaded to a container registry, more like a store, right? So we have taken this code, build it, we've tested it, and then we store it in a container registry. That is not. Now, this code already stored here is going to be pulled from this storage location and deployed to an environment is going to be made available to end users. Right. So DevOps code, package, test it, store it. This, I use it to represent the servers, the actual servers where this application is going to run. So DevOps is in charge of setting up and maintaining these servers. He's also in charge of the process by which this code is taken, repackaged, stored, and then deployed in this environment. This particular environment or these servers, I have 4 different environments: the dev environment, the quality assurance environment, or the QA for short, the stage environment, and the production environment. What are we doing here? What does this mean? When these DevOps have taken this code, packaged it, do all the testing, and he's going to first of all deploy it to a development environment, right? Once developers themselves, the people who has developed the code testing, right? Before any code or any software gets to end user, it has undergone several process tests. Yeah, every team must affirm that this particular software actually meets in a development environment. Okay, so this environment, once it is here, the developers that actually develop the application will test. Once they confirm that everything is fine, the CI process, the DevOps engineer continues. Pick this code already certified by the developers and deploy it in a QA environment. In this environment, yeah, the quality assurance team will start their test. Yeah, this is where the quality assurance team are going to do all their tests on all their use cases. They are going to confirm that actually what the developers have written actually meets the demand or whatever purpose that application is being developed have confirmed to us, okay, this particular code is fine. If it is not fine, they'll move it back to dev, right? Developer will go back and fix the problem, and the CI/CD process continues again, right? Until it gets here again, developer tests again and push it to QA. Once the QA is certified that this particular code is actually fine, it is then deployed again to the stage environment. This is where the product owners or the product managers, yeah, do their own testing and actually confirm that what the user requested in the field is actually what has been developed, what has been tested by QA, and what we are about to roll out. Okay, so this stage environment can also be called the demo environment or the UAT, the user acceptance test. This is where the product owners, like I said, do their testing and confirm. If everything is fine, if assuming there is a problem, it's going to be moved back to QA. They will tell the QA, please go back and test again. So get them and bring it back. So once these product owners confirm that everything is fine, it is then moved to production. This is the final environment and the most important environment in software development. That is why not every DevOps engineer have access to production environment. You must be someone trustworthy before you're given access to this. Why? Because this is the business itself, right? This is where the users in the field are now using the code. Take, for instance, Facebook. Assuming Facebook wants to release a feature, maybe a search feature or anything, it's going to go through these processes. It's going to go through all this. First of all, they will develop it. The DevOps engineer will do all his refurbishing, deploy it in a development environment. Developers will test, move it to quality assurance and move it to stage until it eventually gets to the production. That is where you and I can actually go to facebook.com. Whatever we are seeing there in Facebook.com, all these features we are seeing there have undergone all these processes. It is true there are some features in Facebook currently underway, right? Maybe it has not passed through the stage. Maybe it's failing at QA. The QA have not certified it, yeah? So before all gets to production and you and I will start using it, it must have undergone through internal series of testing. All these environments is being managed by a DevOps engineer. You are to set it up, you are to manage it, and you are to monitor it, yeah? And confirm that everything is all fine, and it's all designed in high availability mode. Don't mind the term per se. You're going to get all of this if you eventually to DevOps engineering, okay? So as a DevOps, you are expected to understand how pipelines work, because the process from here to where it is deployed is called a pipeline. Yeah. If you understand this and you know how it works and you can handle it, and you also understand the deployment environment, yeah, the technologies behind all of this. I mean, you can call yourself a DevOps engineer, okay? Moving on, why do we even need DevOps? We need DevOps for a number of reasons. In fact, you cannot do it without, if there is no developer, there is no code. Yeah? If there is no DevOps engineer, the code will remain on your laptop. You can't actually take it out to end users. Okay? So there are several reasons why we need a DevOps engineer. For faster development, I mean, once a developer makes any change, this pipeline, remember, the way I explained it, it is not actually a manual process. All these are completely automated. So immediately developer pushes this code, the pipeline already detects that there is a change. It's not building this, this pipeline, right? Everything here is automation. That is why I said, if you actually do your due diligence in DevOps engineering, you won't have any cause for alarm. You will just relax, yeah? Because all these are automated. Your problem will come when you did not automate this and you're trying to do it manually. You will overwork yourself, okay? DevOps has helped us in faster development, yeah? Because immediately the code is getting to Git, we are picking it at that instance, yeah, and taking it to a development environment. Trade-off. Right? Improved collaboration. Right? If you do diligence and you have your monitoring and your alerts, once a developer pushes a code, he already understands that this code has actually been deployed. Right? Because you, as a DevOps, you have your alert system, you have improved everything. So they basically know exactly what increase the efficiency, enhance. There is a load, particular load of why we actually need DevOps. Yeah. Before DevOps, we're using the waterfall method, whereby the code will have to be ready completely before we now manually go and deploy it. It wastes time. In this particular, DevOps have made everything automated. Yeah, you can just develop any section of the code, just push it, it will get deployed. Yeah. If you go through this, there is trailer load of reasons why a DevOps engineer is important. Now, what do you need if you want to become a DevOps engineer? It's not hard, but you have to put in the work. Yeah? You need to understand a bit of Linux and scripting. Why do you need Linux? You need Linux because most of these environments you're going to be deploying in is going to run on Linux. I mean, we hardly run anything on Windows. Nothing runs on Windows actually if you actually go production. Yeah, some companies still run Windows on-prem, but majority are now in Linux. Things like Kubernetes and all of that are built off of Linux. That is why once you want to become a DevOps engineer, we encourage you, you have to know Linux and you have to know your scripting. Yeah. You have to know computer networking. When I say networking, I don't mean you should go and start CCNA class. No, you don't have to do that. All you simply need to understand in networking is IP addressing and subnetting. These are the two most powerful tools or concepts you need to understand in computer networking. You need this for your troubleshooting, and it is the bedrock of all our infrastructure in DevOps engineering. Yeah? Because these servers you're going to set up, they are going to be on a network. They will run on a particular IP. Everything around DevOps, actually, the infrastructure itself is made up of networking. If you don't understand networking, you can't be a DevOps. Why? Because you can't troubleshoot. And you can't build, you can't set up, you can't manage, right? And then the next thing you need to know is continuous integration, continuous deployment. Yeah, this is more like a technical term. However, it is very simple. What does this mean? This simply means the tools and the processes we use in taking the code from a version control to the deployment environment. You also need to understand infrastructure as code. Yeah. Before now, we can do away with infrastructure as code, but currently you can't anymore, right? Basically, it's a very interesting concept. Instead of going to set up this infrastructure yourself one after another, why not write it as code? Once you execute it, the whole infrastructure will be set up, right? Why it is important is that at every instance of time, you know exactly what you deployed or the infra you set up and where they are, because everything is written as code. In fact, you can tear down your infrastructure in the next second. The next second, you bring them up again, even if you're running 1,000 servers. Yeah, that's the beauty of infrastructure as code. You don't necessarily need to go and be doing these configuration changes or set up yourself. Write it as code, execute it, and you're good. Okay? And then you need to understand monitoring and logging. Yeah? These things are not very hard, actually, but you must put in the work. I will always tell you that, okay? Your infrastructure, your servers, you need to monitor them, right? At every instance of time, once server A is going down, you need to get an alert immediately, and probably a clue or why that server is going down. You need to go in and check, right? So with logging and monitoring, this is more like the eyes of a DevOps engineer. because you're not going to be on your fleets or servers checking and monitoring them yourself. You need tools in which you can use to plug into these servers and these systems and these your applications. I will always tell you, okay, this is one thing, this is critical, this is this and okay. And you also need your soft skill, it's very important, mostly communication skill. Okay? Must be able to work in a team, right? It's quite important, even though some of us will say, okay, it's not very important. It is actually. I remember where I used to work before, okay? When I was doing my internship, when I was done, there was a review, actually. The review was funny, actually. They simply mentioned that I understood the whole thing. I was very technical, I was good at what I do, but I don't communicate. Yeah, I was actually marked down in that aspect. It was really an issue, actually. Why don't you communicate? So the thing is, most of us, yeah, when we get into the industry, we just want to get it done ourselves, even though it may be hard, or you just want to try and prove yourself, look, I'm a great guy, I can do this, yeah, I was doing that kind of thing. Forgetting that there is a business requirement. The business expects you to finish this in 1 hour, but because you want to do it yourself, you finish it in 3 hours, yet you are slowing everybody down. Yeah? So it is required that once you can't get this thing done, you should be able to say, hey, okay, you should come and help me. You must be able to communicate your problem at every instance of time. Yeah. Okay? Now, how do you start? If I want to just give you a very, very simple guide, if you want to actually start and be a DevOps engineer, yeah? Very, very simple guide. Not that when you have done this, you already complete DevOps. But with these simple steps, if you can, trust me, you can easily pick up an internship role from there to engineer. And then they can guide you if you actually want to be a DevOps engineer. Part one is very simple. That does not mean that AWS is the only cloud platform we have. There are many of them. Microsoft Azure, there is Google, there is GCP, yeah. Google Cloud Platform, there is Oracle Platform, there is EAPS. In fact, they are in hundreds, yeah. But AWS controls about 60% share. That is why most of us are actually using AWS. Most companies use AWS. Everybody uses AWS, yeah. So if you can start with this, you're really good to go. So part one, you can just go out there, create an account in AWS. It's very simple and straightforward, yeah. And then part two, you must know networking. You must read and understand networking, else you're not going nowhere, yeah. In networking, I simply want you to know IP addressing and subnetting. I mean, you can go out to YouTube and get this thing sorted yourself. It's not very hard. And I'm sure you also have your friends there who actually understand IP addressing and subnetting. But you need to be able to understand what is an IP address, what is a private IP, what is a public IP, the usable ones and non-usable ones. Yeah? And then you need to be able to subnet because it is very important. You can't even do DevOps without this concept, without knowing them properly. Once you have understood networking, to solidify your knowledge in networking, you need to learn about VPC creation in AWS. Yeah? If you are able to go to AWS and create a VPC yourself, yeah, you can actually learn it on YouTube and try to practice it properly and understand it. Yeah? If you're able to, because VPC is the bedrock of anything we are creating, or any server we are creating, or any load balancer we are creating on AWS. It's more like the networking. VPC is more like a data center. Can you still hear me?
Yes, we can.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
All right, thank you very much. So, once you are done with learning IP addressing, remember you can easily go to YouTube and get these things. I mean, there are huge resources in YouTube that you can actually leverage, yeah, and do these things. They're not hard actually. Like I said, I'm sure you still have a number of your mates who understands IP addressing and subnetting. Subnetting, they could help you. I mean, nothing is there. Really simple, but you must put in the work. You must be able to sit down and actually try to understand this thing. And then once you have done learning, once you're done learning IP addressing and subnetting, I will encourage you to look into VPC creation. This is more like a data center in AWS, virtual data center. If you can create it and understand how it works and build it out yourself, right, in AWS. In fact, you are almost 50%, yeah, in knowing DevOps, because that is one of the basics. You just need to know it so you can build your infrastructure, you can troubleshoot, you can do anything at particular instance of time. Once you're told about a particular problem, with your knowledge in networking, you should be able to try to see, okay, I'm getting the connection timeout from this server to this server. You should be able to look at networking. You should be able to look at the firewalls, okay? So you are done reading out and building out VPC yourself in AWS. Now you start learning about the tools in DevOps. I want you to learn a few tools. This is Jenkins, a very important tool. I mean, you can easily get a course on Udemy and get these things done, yeah? Installing Jenkins and how to use Jenkins. It's simple and straightforward and interesting too, I must tell you, very interesting. You also need to know Docker. I've provided a YouTube video. It's a very simple course where you can read about Docker and learn about it. So one thing with this is, as you are watching the video, you should be able to practice alone. You don't learn DevOps by watching videos and not practicing and thinking you can't have it all in your head. As you are watching it, you're practicing alone. Yeah? Trust me, if you practice this video alone, if you practice alone while watching this video, you should be able to know what is Docker and can write Docker file at any instance of time. Yeah? And then you can learn things on Kubernetes. I've already provided a simple YouTube video, I think a 3 hours YouTube video. You can actually use as well to understand what Kubernetes is about. Why? Because most of this our infrastructure actually runs on Kubernetes. Majority of them in companies around the world are running on Kubernetes. Only very few companies that you're going to see that runs in standalone servers. Yeah, very few companies. Most of it is going to be running on Kubernetes. Yeah? Remember, this infrastructure can be a standalone server, it can be Kubernetes, it can even be serverless. Yeah? It can be anything. But majority of what you're going to encounter is going to run on Kubernetes. We call it K8 for a short. Yeah? So that is why I deem it fit. And if you must know DevOps, you should know something on Kubernetes. Yeah? And then you should know Terraform. Remember, when I talked about infrastructure as code, yeah, these very concepts, it's quite important and being used heavily in the industry now, yeah? Writing your infrastructure as code, instead of going out to build it out yourself, you can actually write it as code, right? Even this VPC, actually, when you have finished learning how to create it manually, you can use Terraform to write it down as well, write it as code. Once you run it on your laptop, it goes out to AWS and create everything the way you have written it. Very simple and sweet concept, I must tell you. Okay? All right, once you have learned Terraform, I'm giving you a link to where you can read about it and learn about it. Very simple as well. Then you have a very simple project I've provided for you here. Implement a CI/CD pipeline to deploy an Nginx service to Kubernetes cluster. If you can do this, it's simple, or if you can do this, you can, it should be good for you if you want to learn or join or be a DevOps engineer, actually. All right. So very quickly, in summary, DevOps, I must say, I tell everyone, is not a get-rich-quick scheme. Yeah, it is not a get-rich-quick scheme. But it pays, actually, yeah. If you are really a DevOps and you know what you're doing, it pays very, very well. I can attest to that, and I must tell you. But it's not a get-rich-quick scheme. You need to be able to sit down and actually put in the work, okay? I remember one of my friends came to tell me that he wants to join DevOps. I asked him a very simple question. He said, because of the money. I said, oh, wow. And I had to sit him down and explain to him, look, you cannot just wake up and start receiving this big money that you think DevOps are receiving. Okay, you cannot do that. You need to be able to have gotten a space, yeah, read about these things, learn it, and intern first. You need to even intern, become a junior engineer, so before you become that big, earning big. So you must be able to put in the work, okay? But it's very simple and sweet concept actually, if you pay attention, right? Again, you just have to put in the work and that is it. All right, that will bring me to the end of my presentation. You can ask me your question now if any.
Thank you.
Can you hear me?
Thank you for that amazing presentation. So we're going to take 2 questions from the audience. Can you hear me? Hello?
Yeah, I can hear you. I can hear you.
All right. So we're going to take 2 questions from the audience. Anyone has a question on DevOps or anything about the talk he just gave? All right. So no questions.
No questions.
No questions. Thank you so much.
All right, that's fine. I didn't get that. No question?
One. You have a question? You have a question?
Can you hear me?
All right. Someone actually has a question.
Okay. You didn't mention, or I don't know if it is not, but I think it is the idea of load balancing. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Go ahead.
The concept of load balancing, is it the DevOps job? If it is, you didn't mention the idea here. So I just need an insight on it.
Yeah, load balancing is purely on the DevOps thing. Okay. Can you hear me? So load balancing is purely on it. It's, remember, you will have. Can I go on?
Yes, we can. Yes, we can.
Okay, so load balancing is purely on a DevOps table, okay? Because, I mean, you are going to be deploying your application in high availability mode. What do I mean by that? Okay? You may have a particular microservice. You're going to be deploying this microservice in, say, about server. The same exact instance of the microservice, but you can deploy it in 3 servers, okay? You can deploy one instance of microservice in 3 different servers, but you can make them to work together with load balancing. With load balancing, you're able to say, okay, only one of the instances should not handle all the requests coming from the field, right? So once the first one is handling the request, if another request comes from a user in the field, it is being balanced to a different instance of that same application. Right? If another one comes, it's taken to the other instance. So basically, you can have, for instance, let me give an instance. When we have, let's say, a login service, remember, things like Facebook, the service that actually handles login is not the same thing it's not the same service that handles, let's say, search. It's not the same service that handles any form of query, right? Let's say the login service. The login service can have up to 100 instances. Yeah. Remember, Facebook users are in billion. Let's say about a billion users in Facebook. You can't expect one login service to be handling all the billion requests that may be coming per minute, right? It's going to be overwhelmed and it's going to get terminated. So what we do is to deploy the same instance. A lot of one instance of it, let's say a login service can have up to 100 instances, but they are working together. What made this so? The concept of load balancing. Yeah? You can use a load balancer and say, okay, once a request is coming for a login service, load balancer, please check which of the instances of login service that is free. Once any one of it is free, you can actually proxy that request from field to that particular login service. Yeah, it's not hard actually, very simple. But the concept of load balancing in IT, in infrastructure, is purely on a DevOps stage. Yeah.
Thank you for your response. I hope you answered it correctly. All right, thank you very much. So I guess that would be all.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much for your audience. I must tell you, yeah, it's I know you are having information overload. Okay, you're going to be hearing about DevOps. You will hear about quality assurance. You hear about software development. Yeah, I must tell you, you just need to find one or read about one, understand one, and go into one. Don't start doing two. Yeah, some of us were tempted to do that when we are in your shoes. Actually, you want to do this and you do that. I know some people sit here actually want to do DevOps and quality assurance and see which one works. No, you just take one. Yeah, I understand sometimes it is difficult to make decisions at this point. Yeah. However, you must pick one and really be diligent in it. Focus on it. Don't carry two. Don't carry three. Don't join classes because you want to know which one is best and follow. No. Understand everything you need to understand now. You can read about them later, you can ask more questions later, but take one, right? Yeah, don't have too much information and you're confused and yet you want to take at least three so you know which one that works. At the end of the day, you don't know anything. If you want DevOps, it's good DevOps. If you want quality assurance, take it. If you want development, please take it. But just take one at a particular instance. That being said, thank you again for your audience.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir.
Bye. Okay, that was an amazing session. I don't know about you guys, but I learned more about DevOps. I didn't really know about it before now. Learned about CI/CD and other things. I hope you guys learned a lot too. All right, so next up on the agenda, we're going to be calling on one of our amazing sponsors. This event might not have been possible without them. We have two sets of sponsors, so we're going to be calling on Xplore first. A round of applause for them.
Hello, everyone. Good day. My name is Busayo. I'm the operations manager at Xplore. Okay, so I'm just going to quickly talk about Xplore, talk about what we do, and why you should join us. So Xplore is a non-profit organization aimed at helping entry-level tech professionals scale and start their careers. We are dedicated to providing a wide range of resources and programs to support individuals who are passionate about technology and are looking to make their mark in this fast-paced industry. Our main goal is to offer our members the necessary tools, knowledge, and experience they need to survive and succeed in the tech industry. And we do this across different areas. We do this across areas such as web development, software engineering, cybersecurity, cloud engineering, data analytics, and so much more. So we understand that having theoretical knowledge is not enough to succeed in the tech industry. This is why we provide our members with exposure to real-life projects and use cases. And we're able to do this through our partnerships across Africa and North America. So what these partnerships help us do is, provide internships, scholarships, and simulated work experience opportunities. And these opportunities are very important because they go on to help build practical skills and real life experience. We've been able to provide job opportunities to so many of our members who would have otherwise struggled to find job opportunities. But because of our amazing partnerships, we've been able to provide this for them. We are committed to providing continuous support to all individuals who come through our doors, and we strive to ensure that every person who engages with us gets the best possible experience. So that's all about Nexus Skill. Thank you. So to join our community, you can head on over to our website at www.nexusskill.org. You can also find us on Instagram at NexusSkill and on Twitter at NexusSkillHQ. When you head onto our website, you see the easy steps on joining our community, and it opens a new level to you as starters in the tech industry to get a lot of opportunities. Thank you so much. Does anybody have any questions? Question? Someone has a question, please.
I wanted to ask about the pricing, because a lot of people, they tell us the value, and the value we can hear it, but they don't talk about the price of
Like the price to join?
Yes, the price of the service you're offering.
Okay, so our community is 100% free. As I said, we're a non-profit organization. We are not collecting money from anybody. We're just looking to help people. Any other questions? Question, please.
Right, so is there a campus program for students like us?
Okay, so not yet. There are no campus programs yet because we started our journey in May of this year, and thankfully we are over 10,000 community members, so we are still growing, but soon enough there will be campus programs. But you can always join the community. You have access to everything just as everyone there. Yeah. Any other questions? Okay, thank you so much for listening to us. We hope to see you in, question.
Are there boot camps for coding and stuff?
Okay, so in a few, I think it's next month, we have a partnership with She Code Africa, and the boot camp, they are having a boot camp for women. So something like that, you'll be able to join. As I said, we have partnerships across Africa, North America. So because of these partnerships, they provide opportunities for our members. So something like a boot camp can come up, and our members have special access to stuff like that. Yeah. All right, thank you so much. Have a good day, everybody.
Give it up for Nexus Skill, everyone. Woo. I happen to know a bit about Nexus Skill. I see I'm a bit active on X. In case you want to follow me, my handle is Chibucodes. So yeah, I see you guys do a lot of laptop giveaways. And fun fact, the founder of Nexus Skill, that's Adora, right? Adora Wondu. Last year, BUCC had a career fair, and she was a speaker there. So yeah. And you spoke about a partnership with She Code Africa. So in case you guys don't know, BUCC students, Babcock students, She Code Africa has a chapter here in Babcock. So if you're interested in joining or you didn't know about it, you can meet me later. I can put you in touch with the lead. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Nexus Skill. We're so happy to have you here, and thank you for sponsoring our events.
Thanks a lot.
Next of all, we are going to be introducing one of our amazing sponsors. Without them, this event could not have been possible. Let's give it a round of applause for Kuda Bank.
Kuda Bank!
Kuda Bank!
Woo!
And we are going to be calling on the head of Academy for Kuda Bank, Mr. Adetunji Teju Osho.
Come on, let's have it. Woo!
Good afternoon, everyone. Please, am I audible enough?
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you very much. As I've been introduced, my name is Adetunji Teju Osho. And before I start my session, I just want to ask 3 questions, and I'm definitely going to do a giveaway. It's Christmas period, so let me be your Santa for today. So quick one, yeah. So you will have to decipher. So it's more like whosoever I set my eye on, you understand? So you need to be my faces, you understand? Be my face, very, very key. So you tell me which one of them is the truth, which one of them is the lie. 3 important questions. I'm the first child in my family. So who is answering the question? What's your answer? Am I the first? I'm not the first. Okay, we'll tell. What's the name of this? Okay, I finished from BUCC. What's your answer? No. Final answer? Sorry? All right, cool. So I'll go with you. So you have no, you have yes, and the last one is I'm into tech. I'm a tech bro. So I need a lady. Come on. Okay, yes, you. Yes. All right, good. So let me start with the tech bro, no tech bro. The only important thing I know how to do on the system is to turn it on. So you need to know that I'm not a tech bro. And I'm not the first child of my family. Sorry. And yes, I finished from Babcock University. Many of us might not be familiar with Kuda, but Kuda is literally one of the best fintech companies in the world now. So if you say in Nigeria, I will say yes, we make top 2 and we're not number 2. So we are doing everything remarkable from providing tech services, financial tech services, to empowerment in various forms. I'm not going to bore you with everything that Kuda does, but it is important that Kuda is a brand you should align with in any capacity. So in terms of recruitment, so we have our talent people here. Name it in terms of tech innovation, basically you should call, what should come to your head is Kuda. So there's something I learned from Babcock while I was here. This was many years ago, and it's something about the greatest want of men. Men will not be bought or sold. Men will in their innermost. Can someone complete that thing for me? Don't forget I'm Santa. Nobody wants to complete it. Sorry? The greatest want of men. So nobody knows it. You shall want to collect something. So what's the go on?
The want of men that to stay true to their core and they will stay true to honesty, and we know. Oh my gosh.
Was that what they taught you?
Yes, it's LG White.
Or if I'm not wrong, I think they said something like the greatest want of men are men will not be bought, men will in their innermost. Okay, so exactly. So I will think about your gifts. Don't worry. So basically, I'm from the soft skill or behavioral side of things in the fintech industry. So that's the HR department, the people operation side of things. And I'm currently the head of academy at Kuda, and literally we're started with the responsibilities of capacity building, you understand? So if you want to develop one aspect, so maybe you've been trying to learn something in Python and the snake has beaten you several times, we'll help you develop something that you do that would not allow the snake bite you, you understand? So every form of capacity building, behavioral changes, and name it. So I don't want to boast too much here today, but some of the things I want to just enlighten us on. When people say tech, just as I asked if I was a tech bro and you automatically assumed I am, you need to understand that the word tech is just a nomenclature. Let me borrow that word. There are many things you can do to get into the fintech space, and if you find yourself writing codes and everything, ask yourself what environments will need this particular product or service that I'm trying to do. So you're good at coming up with, you can think of a solution. What industry do you think would require this solution? You don't necessarily have to work in in an engineering company. So growing up, engineering was them civil engineering, mechanical engineering, and the likes. But now, when we say engineers, we have front end, back end, and all the other aspects of engineers that we have in the system. So when you say you graduate from a school like Babcock, and the first question that comes to your mind is, what do I want to do next? You should tell yourself, this is what I can do, not what should I do. So in telling yourself what you can do, all the skills you've learned here is literally not what we're doing in the outside world. Because, okay, so at Babcock, I studied business administration. There's no way in any given organization that your role is a business administrator. You understand? So you need to start looking for what you would do with, I think you guys have CS, CT, CIS, and I don't know. And what else? IT. Also, there's a lot of divisions now. So name it, software, hardware, anyone, whatever ways that you guys have. The most important thing is to know what you can do with it. You understand? You don't what we're learning in school is another advantage to what you face outside school. So it is important that all what you've learned in school, when you graduate, at the point of graduation, I believe some people are already working. Thanks to COVID, COVID brought in a lot of remote jobs and everything, so you can literally apply with little of your skill to get what you want to do. So it is important that whatever it is you find yourself doing, once you get outside there, don't assume you are too small for this role or you're too big for this role. Start from somewhere. And like I said, I'm not here to aspire to catch fire with you guys, but I'm just here to let you know it is important that you marry the skill gap, what is being taught in school and what you'll meet in the outside world. Again, I reiterate, I studied business administration. There's nowhere in any given organization that you will find yourself as a business administrator. So in the line of business administration, what are the things you can do? I also have a degree in HR, so I find myself doing HR now. Name it, there's admin and services, there are people operations and many other departments that you can join. So as an engineer or as IT guys, you can work in the hospitality sector as what? So data automation, name it. So it is important that you carve a niche for yourself before you get outside, because outside is not easy. It's not as smooth as we think it is, but you're the only dictator of that fate of yours. And like I said, I work with Kuda, a fintech company in Nigeria, and we have subsidiaries in SA, Ghana, Tanzania, UK, and we are expanding to different countries all over the world. So one of the most important things you can do for me while we are still here for the next couple of days, because we'll have our tent set up somewhere around school, you can pay us a visit, have more understanding of what Kuda is all about, have more understanding of our product and services, and I believe when our engineers are talking, they'll talk about the API integration and other things that you can do with our banking system. Feel free to engage any one of us that is wearing CUDA. I know there are some BUCC people wearing CUDA. Ask them anything you want to ask about CUDA. If they cannot answer you, they'll direct you guys to each or any one of us that is wearing the CUDA shirt or that is a representative of CUDA. And without wasting much of our time, let me just ask you, if you have any questions, please let me know your questions. If not, I can just take my seat. Any question for me? I guess we're settled here. Thank you very much for your time, and have a wonderful day.
Ladies and gentlemen, one more time, give it up for Kuda. Yeah. Okay, so the next item on the agenda is an entertainment
act.
Yeah, an
From
entertainment
Paul,
act.
and he's going to play the violin for us. He's going
Wow.
to serenade us with some very sweet sounds.
Okay.
So let's give it up for Paul.
Give it up for Paul.
Good day, everyone. So I'm going to play the song Amazing Grace on the violin. So I pray for amazing grace for each and every one of us in Jesus' name. Amen. Thank you.
Give it up for Paul.
That was such an amazing presentation from Paul. Thank you so much, Paul. Can we give another round of applause for Paul? Thank you so much. That was just what we needed. Right now, that was really an amazing, very, very amazing. Chi, would you play any instruments?
My mom wanted me to play violin when I was smaller.
So what happened?
I prefer piano. I actually play piano.
Really?
Yeah. Thank you.
Does anyone here play any instruments?
Oh, wow.
Does anyone here play any instruments?
Yeah, some guys at the back. What instruments? Guitars? Sax? Oh, nice. Who else?
I
What do you
remember
play?
in
remember
primary
what?
school, they asked me to learn recorder.
What happened?
I learned it.
I think everyone should have played a recorder at some point.
And
Right?
the piano.
Hmm?
Definitely. And the piano. I think if you don't know how to play at least do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do on the piano. I don't know the kind of primary school you went to.
I'm shading some people here. She didn't mean it like that, guys.
I know, I'm very sorry. I just feel like in music class, that was one of the things they just used to force us to learn. But we thank God for it. We now have knowledge of it. Next up, we are going to be having another amazing speaker. Yes. Do we have any Scrum Masters here?
Do you know what being a Scrum Master means?
Does anyone know what Scrum means?
He's giving Lord of the Rings.
Scrum. Well, we're going to find out what Scrum is and what it means to be a Scrum Master as we invite our next speaker, Mr. Chima Inziamalu. I'm very sorry if I didn't get the name. I'm very sorry.
Give
But
it up
we're
for
going to
Mr.
invite
Chima.
him now.
Thank you.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, everyone. The name is Chima Nziamalu. I prefer to be called Chima Moses. I am a project manager and a scrum master. I work at PwC as a senior associate. Today I'll be taking us on Scrum. Sorry. Is this working? Okay. Ugh. Sorry, could you help with the next slide? How many of us have an idea of what Scrum is all about? Okay, I see a hand there. EB10, okay. All right, so I'll be taking you on the topic titled Scrum Go Agile. And before we go into the definition of Scrum, I want to assume we all understand what it means to, what the word means, what the word agile means. Who can help with the definition? Someone, please. When you hear the word agile, what comes to your mind? Please, just a quick one so that we can move further. Okay, go ahead, yes. Sorry, help with the mic. He's beside you, he's beside you. Yeah.
Okay, so agile just means rather than doing the full waterfall on the project from start to finish, you just do the same waterfall but for different parts of the project. So you deliver, you make the customer satisfied and give him a milestone at the end. So there are different sprints that the sprints of waterfall till the project gets completed.
Sorry, you're already telling them everything I want to say. Thank you very much. I mean the word, just the word agile. But that's a nice one. Exactly. I think I'm even done here. It's safe to drop the mic. Okay. Just the word. Yes, please.
Agile basically means like moving very quickly, easily.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Doing things quickly, being on your feet at doing duties. Thanks for that contribution. Next slide, please. All right. So before we go into this definition, I want us to understand that Scrum is gotten from is a word in project management, right? And in project management, we have the waterfall approach and the agile approach. Scrum is one of the agile methodologies of project management. We have extreme programming and what have you under agile. But for the sake of today's talk, I'll be discussing Scrum. And from what you can see upwards, Scrum is a simple framework for managing projects in an efficient, agile way. It is basically deployed for software development, right? And the word itself was gotten from, you can see this picture beside, right? This is a picture from a rugby team. So you see how they are interlocking arms, right? What does this picture denote to you, please? What comes to your mind when you see this picture? One word. Who can help me? Sorry? I'm hearing something here. Teamwork, right? Teamwork, yes. Thank you very much. So it comes from a rugby in which players hold hands, hold one another by the shoulder and interlock heads and push in semicircle against the rival team in the same formation. So Scrum approach offers a format for completing pragmatic, bit-sized chunk to achieve objective in less time while spending less money. Just like my friend told us there, the idea of Scrum, so I'll give you an example. You have a software to develop and say this software has like 5 modules. Probably the home page, the dashboard, maybe question and answers, settings and what have you. Now, ideally, you would want to start with the home page or how your project lead wants you, but the Scrum approach allows the team to take up chunks of the job, right? For some of us, we prefer to start with the larger tasks to smaller tasks, but if you are like me, in my own time management skills, I rather do the smaller tasks before going to the bigger one so that I'll have full concentration when applying that. So Scrum itself enables you to complete tasks easily, effectively, and within a short time. Please, the next slide. Next slide, please. Okay, so there are 5 Scrum values. 5 Scrum values. If you find yourself in an agile environment, you should possess almost all of this, if not 4 to 5. First is commitment, right? You can't call yourself an agile person if you are not committed. And what does commitment means in the agile framework or in the Scrum field? It is you setting realistic goals and committing your team to them, right? When there is an agenda that has top priority, you have to work on it in a sprint. I will explain other terminologies as we go further, so please stay with me. So you may be seeing things like sprint and what have you. I will break them down as we go further. The next value is focus. So I want to assume that part of your individual skills or soft skills, I will call it soft skills, is you must have a high attentiveness to details. So focus here is clarifying roles and responsibility earlier in the project. So in project management, especially in the Scrum setting, there's something called a project charter. If I'm losing you, wave your hands. Have you ever heard project charter? Hello? Okay, so a project charter contains the statement of work as well as roles and responsibilities and every other detail. So before you start a project, are you listening? There's a documentation that is required to be prepared. So it contains the scope of work and also contains roles and responsibilities. So this here clarifies who is to do what and how he or she should do that, and milestones and what have you. Sorry, I'm rushing. I have limited time. Third is openness. You must possess this value. You must be able to work with the team to ensure that you create oversight charts to mark the team's activities and progress. Then respect, most importantly. As you advance into the proper industry, this key, respect here, will enable you go far in life. So aside having the set skills, you must have mutual respect for your team. Most importantly, you must have trust for your team member. So if your team member is committing to a timeline to deliver on a particular task, even though there are some instances where his timeline or the time frame provided is not realistic, you must trust your team member, put confidence in your team member to deliver. And then lastly is courage, and that is letting go of old model and habits and encouraging out of the box thinking. One of the challenges I've faced, because aside being a Scrum Master, I'm also a project manager that implements digital transformational projects. And one of the challenges we find when deploying this project are, we discover that members of the team in an organization are always accustomed to old models. So that change, adjustment between changing from new systems to old systems are the major challenge. So as a Scrum member, you must possess any of this skill. All right, thank you. The next slide. So please pay attention because I'm going to be breaking down some of those terminologies and what you see here. So right here is the Scrum process. And like every project, in Scrum, the first step is ideation, or you must have that vision. Okay, this is what I want to do. I want to build a software that, let me think of one random thing now. A software that can easily bypass people's, I can't think of one right now. But just think of any random software. A random idea that you want to implement. So that is the point of vision. Now this visioning, you can break them down into user stories. User stories are what and what you, I think I have to put an approach now. So let's think of, I want to build a financial system, more like, Kuda Bank, right? Something like Kuda Bank or a competitor to Kuda Bank. Then the user stories here are what, those user stories are what the particular software or tool you intend to provide must entail, right? So the idea is broken down to user stories. User stories are further broken down to sprint backlogs. Now, a sprint itself can run for 2 to 3 weeks. Now, the sprint has to do with activities that go on while you are developing that particular software. So let's say for the first sprint, we said we want to work on the Q&A session of the application, right? And the Q&A section should contain this, that. Pardon, I don't have time to break down. So you are committing yourself to 2 to 4 weeks to develop that module, right? That particular period where the team has committed themselves to developing that module is called a sprint. Now, the activities within that sprint is referred to as what? Sprint backlog. Are we following, please? Activities, those duties, what we plan to achieve. And the sprint is within 2 to 3 weeks, in which the next slide we'll talk about Scrum roles, but you see the Scrum Master there. The Scrum Master serves as an overseer. He's an impediment remover. Another word, he removes blockers. So, say one of the development team is finding it difficult to reach out to the other team, probably in Netherlands, or he has a technical difficulty. The Scrum Master is always available to ensure that those blockers are removed on time. But within the Scrum team, as we'll go there, okay, before I go there, so there are daily stand-up that are being carried out every day. And there are 3 major questions that is being asked during the daily stand-up. Daily stand-up can be referred to just a meeting, a brief meeting. It normally occurs within 15 minutes time frame, right? So every day within the daily sprint, you ask, and the Scrum Master asks 3 major questions, and it can be more. What was done yesterday? What do you plan to do today? And are there any activities or blockers? Are there any blockers that the current team is facing that will need to be removed? I'll come back to this because I want to ask a question. I have a question for you as well. Next slide, please. Okay, so we have here Scrum events and people. Scrum events and people, and I'm just going to be I'll start with the people. So we have stakeholders. As you can see in the diagram, they are outside. Your stakeholders can be internal and external. Most of your stakeholders can be the project sponsor. From the name, project sponsor, who is sponsoring the project, right? And they could be sitting at your department's board level, or they could be external clients. Hope I'm not speaking too much grammar. Are we following? Yes, so these are people that forms the stakeholders. Your stakeholders can also be your departmental colleagues and what have you. But basically, all people that you work with directly or indirectly in the project are referred to as who? Stakeholders. Then we have the Scrum Master. We have the Product Owner. The Product Owner understands the product itself, right? And for me, if you ask me, I don't envy product owners. They are wonderful people, and they are doing a whole lot of job when it comes to SDLC, that's software development life cycle, right? So the product owner interacts directly with the development team. Why? He or she knows the product better. Hello? So you saw that diagram I showed you initially, from the vision to user stories. All those activities are carried out by the product owner, majorly. So it's the product owner that he does the market research, he does a lot of work. Pardon me, I won't be going into details in that aspect. So then the diagram I showed before, you saw something called 2 to 4 weeks of the sprint of the sprint activity. That is majorly that activity is being run between the product owner and the development team. For the development team, it can comprise from 3 to 9 people. So I'll just mention a few roles, and I understand we have some software developers here, so you can familiarize with this name. You have your front end, back end, your QA person. In most cases, you may need your DevOps, right? I think I've mentioned that. Okay, so your front end, back end, QA, DevOps person, and your UI UX person. Hope these are not strange to you. We all know these roles, right? Hello? Do we all know these roles? All right, thank you. So I've spoken about that activities in the center. I would move to the circles outside. So these are the 4 major Scrum events. And from the top left, we have, okay, let me not start with that. Let's start with daily Scrum. I've explained daily Scrum to us, right? These are, first and foremost, the activities of daily Scrum involves your daily stand-up and various activities in a sprint backlog within a time-boxed event, which is a sprint cycle, right? As we can see, it is expected that members in the Scrum team perform actions from the sprint backlog in the daily Scrum. So within the 2 to 4 weeks, you are aligning with your sprint backlog to see that you properly flesh out activities and carry them out. Then before your daily Scrum, pardon me, there's something called sprint planning. It is during the sprint planning you can break down, sorry I'm rushing, but try to keep the pace, sorry. During the sprint planning, you begin to break down activities. Thank you. Yeah, you begin to break down activities for your various sprints. Then your daily Scrum. Then the next is sprint review. So the sprint review happens after the sprint, or sprint review. No, sorry, during the sprint, sorry. Then the retrospective occurs after the end of the sprint. What questions in the sprint retrospective involves what can we do better? So you are looking back at how the sprint activity went and how you can improve on them, right? Then you have something here called increments. During the sprint review, it is important that increments refer to, I will call them, no matter how minimal they are, progresses, right? Those little progresses you make. So if it is just to change, maybe one of your activities on your backlog is change the home page to home, for example. That itself is an increment, right? As minimal as anything. If it is to change the color of the loading bar, if that has been done, that is an increment in itself. Then finally, definition of done. Definition of done. Before you start any project, all stakeholders and the Scrum team must align on what DOD means. DOD means definition of done. So if definition of done is we want to build a software that can allow users to log in and log out, for example, that in itself is a well-defined definition of done. Then lastly, the sprint backlog. comprises of, is a chunk of more details from the sprint, the product backlog contains more details that are broken down into sprint backlog. So it is like a well-blown list of activities to be achieved, then they are broken down into smaller chunks of sprint backlog as per sprint. The next slide, I'm almost done. Next slide, please. Okay, so this is the last slide. 7 advantages of Scrum. One is Scrum helps adaptability and flexibility. So unlike other project management approach, Scrum gives that flexibility. Why do I like Scrum? I am able to start any task. I don't have to do from start to finish. I can start from the middle or from the end and bring out an increment. So when you get increment, I'm talking about result in its sense, right? No matter how small it is. Then Scrum encourages creativity and innovation. So in the midst of executing a particular item from the sprint backlog, an innovation may come in. That does not mean you would execute it during the Scrum cycle, the sprint cycle. Those new innovation and ideas are refactored into the product backlog by the product owner. I can't go into details, but please stay with me. So if you see yourself in the Scrum environment, it's expected that you have foresight and your creativity instinct will be high. The next is Scrum encourages easy time to market. So you have easy releases, right? So let's think of any update you have on a banking app or on a web platform. Any updates, those are being made available because of a Scrum approach. So I think one of the speakers was talking about, say, Facebook now. Okay, let's use WhatsApp. We all familiarize with WhatsApp. You see how on some mobiles, I think that is on Android versions, your status has declustered from how it used to be, right, to now on a straight line. That little update and that release is made possible because of the Scrum approach. Another thing is Scrum encourages lower costs, though you will spend money, but lower. Then another one is increased transparency often leads to higher quality of work. Then Scrum encourages continuous feedback, improves customer satisfaction. So you can always go back to your customers, get feedback and incorporate in the next sprint cycle. Then lastly, it increases motivation and team satisfaction. Now the last slide is Q&A. So if you have any question and answer, please, if you have any question, next slide, kindly ask. Then I have a request as well. Sorry. Okay. I'll just take 2. Okay. Sorry, 2, because of time.
Any questions?
Yeah, there's a hand here and a lady.
Okay, so you just said Scrum gets the work done cheaper, right?
Yes.
So,
okay, go ahead.
And you also made known to the fact that in the beginning that it gets the work done faster as well.
Yes.
And efficiently. So
Yes.
if it's getting the work done faster and efficiently, how is it cheaper?
So if you notice when I said it saved cost, I took a pause a bit. Well, if you are comparing it with other project management styles, Scrum is a bit cheaper. It depends on, again, it's not even about the cost here, and it's about the type of project you are handling, right? The type of project. There are some projects that you may not necessarily, go overboard with your budget and what have you. So I want to soft pedal in that cost, right? But, time is money, right? So that cost is in terms of time scale, right? So Scrum help you get something out easily than waiting for, say you are building a house, you have to lay this one, lay that one, lay that one. So it gets tasks done easily, yes. So I will take time in terms of, cost in terms of time. Yeah. Sorry, there's a hand here.
All right, good day. You spoke about Scrum slash project management rather.
Yeah.
And when we hear about Scrum and the Agile approach, is more of common, or is also known in product management, right?
Exactly.
So I want to ask, what's the difference between product management and project management? And like, where's the intersection? They sound so similar from the Scrum and project management.
Okay, so I will try to break it down in a simplified manner. So most times, a project manager, no, let me take it this way. A product manager, rather, most times can easily transition and see himself doing the work of a project manager, right? Their jobs are intertwined somehow, but there is a clear distinct as to, so if you're a product manager, there are other things you would be venturing into. For example, I know that some product managers do feasibility studies, market reviews, more of documentation, and it's a whole lot. But for the project manager, he just wants you to give me what you want to achieve. I'll help coordinate the team, right, and see that there are deliverables apportioned to each person, and I get result out of it. So think of a project manager as a coordinator, right, and a product manager as the owner of an idea. Yes, so he has that idea, he's in charge of that product, and he wants to execute it. However, because he's flooded with a lot of duties, he needs to entrust those duties to a project manager to carry them out. Do you understand? Yeah, so thank you very much. I have not giveaway. So there is an idea, let me use that word. There's an idea that I and my team are working on or plan to work on, and it's going to be a big one, something to do with digital PMO. So to this note, I don't know if I would like to work with some of the interested developers in the house. So I'm looking for 2 front-end and 2 back-end developers. I can't disclose, I have an NDA signed, right? But if you're interested in working with us, please, you can see EB10. Sorry, did I murder the name? Sorry, okay. So she's the one over there. I'll just get your details, your WhatsApp details, then we'll reach out. Thank you very much for having me. God bless.
A round of applause for him again. Thank you very much. Okay. Next up, we have another speaker joining us online.
So next up, we'll be having another speaker, all the way from Sterling Bank.
She's a technical writer, and her name is Amarachi Aso. Give it up for her.
I can't tell if I've been called before. The 18-inch mic is turned off. So I can't hear what.
Can you hear us? Hello, can you hear us?
Yes. Are you speaking to me? I can hear you.
Yeah, we can hear you, Mr. Amarachi.
Okay, so I should start.
Thank you.
Hello?
Yes, you can start.
So you can start now.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Very sorry for any inconveniences that might run in by this time like that. first. But I'm happy to run on this event. Happy to be speaking with the large audience I'm seeing here. So my name is Amarachi Asro. First, let me confirm once again. Do I need to turn on my camera? I don't know. Okay, thank you. All right. All right, so I'll share my screen. Now I just confirmed I don't need to know. Eh? Samuel, are you talking to me? Your mic is on.
No, we're not speaking.
Okay, please confirm you can see my screen. All right. Once again, thank you very much for having me speak on this event. My name is Amarachi Aso. I'm a technical writer currently with Stellenbank. And just to confirm people out can hear and can follow along, is it possible for me to hear the audience say hello or hi, something like that?
Hi, we can hear you. We can hear you loud and clear.
All right. So the title of my talk is A Career in Technical Writing, Insight from My Experience. So we'll be talking about, the insight I'll be providing today is based on my experience, which means it's not the only source of truth. You can always gain more insight from considering the stories of other people or other resources online. The table of contents, or what I'll be discussing today is we'll be talking about what software technical writing is, how I became one, my day-to-day work as a technical writer, tips for excelling as a software technical writer, the challenges I've faced so far and how I overcame them, and then the summary. I will try as much as possible to keep this brief because from what I learned, it's already a bit late for my talk. So, first of all, what is technical writing? I'll be reading out what I have on the slide, and then after that, I'll do a bit more explaining for each of the points. So a simple definition for software technical writing. Note that I prefer to refer to technical writing in this case as software technical writing because technical writing is a very broad term. It covers technical writing in almost every profession out there. But what we are focusing on is the software industry. So technical writing in the software industry, I prefer to call it software technical writing. So software technical writing is an aspect of technical writing concerned with the planning and creation of contents such as documentation, how-to guide, reference web articles, release reports, educational materials, courses, roadmaps, etc. And all these contents, you refer to them as technical writing, software technical writing when you're doing it for a software product. So it means your audience or the people you write for are people in the software industry. So the topics too that you write about will be explaining how to use software products. It could be how to do a certain thing in a particular programming language, how to do a certain thing in using a certain tool, or documentations to guide users on how to install softwares, how to use it, how to, including roadmaps for companies that have a roadmap that they intend to follow, and so on. So these are some of the things you create as a software technical writer. So even though the tutorial content that you create as a software technical writer, what you create will differ from job to job. So, and it's often determined by the specific needs of the company, organization, or software products you are employed to work on. For example, in one job, you could be mostly doing API documentation, or on another job, you'll be writing web articles, you'll be creating content for their blog. On another job, you could be a documentation engineer, so your work is to follow the updates on the product they are building, create documentation so that other developers who intend to use the tool will be able to use it effectively, integrate with it, and or know what there is to know about the product. And also, your audience is not always the public. I think many people today are most familiar with the kind of technical writing where you create content for the public, anybody who can access the internet to have access to and learn from. However, there's also another kind of audience you could have as a technical writer. You could be an internal technical writer for a company. So in that case, the content you create will be consumed by internal employees, will help them to come up to speed with what is happening on different things, to create documentations for products, for future references, and even sometimes even create API documentation, and it's not for the public to use, it's for other team members, other teams within the organization to consume. I know. So that's what technical writing is in summary. Yeah. So how about myself? How did I become a software technical writer? Well, in my experience, a lot of people I know today who are technical writers, they didn't set out from the beginning to become technical writers, and that was the case for me too. So initially I was planning to become a software engineer and just that. I wrote code for both the front end and the back end, and I didn't just plan, I actually did work as a software engineer for some time. However, I started writing articles as I wrote or as I learned certain technologies or programming languages, just for the sake of writing. Sometimes you hear as you write, you're teaching yourself or you're helping others see that you're making progress in your learning journey. So I just wrote just for that, not because I wanted to become a technical writer. However, after some time, I got to learn that certain platforms were paying writers to write articles online. And I found that interesting. So during a certain period when I was out of job, I thought, oh, I've written before, why not apply for this? Apply on these platforms and see whether or not I get accepted. I applied for one of them. They asked for links to my previous work, my previous written articles. I provided the link, and after some weeks, I got a response that I've been accepted to write for the platform. So that was my first experience with paid writing. At that time, I got to say that, oh, you could actually make money from writing. I started to feel the need to take it more seriously. So I started writing for these guys, wrote a few articles, and most times when I write, I talk about it, the different communities I belong, and some of them are even posted on LinkedIn, Twitter, and all. Then before long, a few people started reaching out to me on LinkedIn or Twitter. And this time around, we are offering full-time roles or contract writing roles. And I was wowed because I never thought never thought it would be possible to work as a full-time technical writer. I was thinking it's just something you do on the side while you do a development job full-time. But it was interesting to see that I could actually work as a full-time writer. And that was how I got my current job. Yeah, so my current job, I got it because somebody reached out to me after seeing my previous written articles. So my day-to-day work as a technical writer. So in the bank, I work as an internal technical writer. So it means my content is not for the public. It's for internal consumption. So I work with different teams within the bank to produce technical documentation describing the architecture or process flow of the various products that we currently own and maintain. So on a daily basis, I sometimes interview developers on different engineering teams or different product teams to get to learn about the implementation details for the products they are working on. Sorry. And then after which I create documentation based on my findings and also my understanding of the products that they are building. So in this particular job, I also work very closely with the enterprise architecture team. So that's why I get to create architectural diagrams and sequence diagrams to complement the documents that I create. On this technical writing team, we get to create API documentation for external customers. But myself, I have not created an API documentation yet. However, my team members have done so. And that's for Sterling Bank. I also freelance on the side. And on the freelancing side, I get to write articles that are public. There are web articles that anybody can access. They are often how-to guides and articles explaining certain concepts in technology or how to do certain things with a certain programming language and so on. So that's what my day-to-day work is like, both as an internal technical writer and a freelance technical writer. So, having known about me, about other upcoming technical writers, what are the tips that could help you become a good technical writer? There are 4 of them I have there, even though there are more. The first one that I think is the most important is to develop some programming or software engineering skills. So the audience you're going to be writing for most of the time are developers. So if you're going to write for developers, it makes sense that you're a developer yourself, because it's not going to go as smoothly as possible if you're teaching other developers how to do things in software industry and while you yourself you barely have the skills. And apart from that, that foundational knowledge, it helps you when you're trying to build up your own portfolio, your writing portfolio. So you want to be able to choose topics to write about and include in your writing portfolio. If you know little to nothing about software engineering, you hardly know what to write about. And apart from that, so when you start writing for others, when you're no longer writing for yourself, so you're writing for an organization, you've been employed somewhere, and they give you a certain topic to work on, to write on. Let's say, for example, you are asked to write on how to manage states with Redux in React. but you've never written a line of JavaScript before, or you've written a line, maybe hello world or console.log, and that's all, then it will be very difficult. It will take a lot of time for you to be able to write an article on how to manage states with Windows in React. So, but had it been before that time, before you're given that topic, you already know, you already have intermediate skills in JavaScript, React. Maybe you don't know about Windows yet, but because you already know JavaScript, you already know Windows, quickly doing your research and learning Windows will not take a lot of time, and it will not take a lot of toll on you. And before you know it, you'll be able to come up with an article in no time. If you're doing a paid job, you often work with a timeline. So it's not like you're asked to write and then you have the whole month to do it. You have to put out something in, say, 1 week or 2 weeks, or highest 3 weeks. So you need to have that foundational knowledge so that you'll be able to quickly pick up other skills when it's necessary to do that. Another tip is to hone your writing skills. So the best time to start writing is now. The first time you get to learn about it. Not like 2 weeks, maybe you learned about a job, a writing job, and it seems appealing and you want to apply for it. And that's why when you remember to start writing. But if you've been written long before you ever got to see that job, you have like a portfolio or links or examples to provide on your resume, or however the means they provide for you to showcase your work. And writing is not left for people who are experts. Even as a beginner who is just starting to learn to code, you could start then to write. Whatever it is you've learned, if it's just how to use HTML to create a form, then you could write about it. When you graduate to CSS, you could start writing about topics in CSS. Graduate to HTML, Python, JavaScript, or any other language you're learning, you could start writing about them as well. So the point is, you don't have to become an expert before you start writing. You write at whatever level you are. That way you get to hone your writing skills and build up a large portfolio, at least as much as is possible before. Somebody say something. Okay. So the next point is to read blog posts. Read blog posts and documentation from different technology companies. So the reason for doing this is to learn about the different writing styles that are popular among software companies, so that while you're building out your finding facts, topic suggestion, and so on. So in my case, these are the challenges I face. There are some other ones, but these are the biggest ones for me that I faced and how I overcame them. The first one for me is that I found it difficult to decide to go full-time with technical writing. And the reason for that was because it wasn't something, like I mentioned before, it wasn't something that I set out to become initially. So it was, I had doubts as to whether or not I'll be able to make it, so be successful in that area. However, I got to follow the stories of other writers who became successful and built a strong career, and that motivated me. So the second challenge is that just like every other aspect of tech, technical writing can be mentally exhausting. But what I have found to work for me so far is to take short breaks, several short breaks in between whatever I'm working on at the moment. So when you take those breaks and return, you find out that you have fresh ideas, you're able to pay attention and come up with the content that you're supposed to be creating. That's actually all. The next one here is a summary. Summary is a technical writing is one of the many creative career paths in the software industry. And like I mentioned, often you need to have software engineering knowledge, at least to an extent, for you to be able to succeed as a technical writer. And who is technical writing for? It's for almost everybody, that's the truth. But then I think people who enjoy creating content or educating other developers would perform the best in technical writing roles. So if you're that person who enjoys creating content, then by all means you should consider exploring that. So that's it. I understand I don't have any much time left. Are there any questions? That's